All right, everybody. Hello.
Hi
Um,
guys.
hey, Edward here, Samantha here, and
Hi.
everybody else. Speak up, man.
Hello.
What if I
Sean.
don't?
Well, if you don't,
Oh, he got you there.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. This is our third episode. Thank you for everybody who tuned in last time.
Welcome
The
back.
solid 20 viewers I think we had. That's
Oh, we had 20
I
viewers.
think so. Let me check. But yeah,
Oh my god.
y'all are crazy, man.
We're balling.
Well, let me check the channel. What do we got here? We're gonna. Oh, we got 5 views last time. Okay.
Let's go.
All right,
I just did.
five.
Money
It's all
up.
Edward.
Money up, man. Okay. Anyways, thank you for anybody who did come in and listen. Today we wanted to talk about a new theme. Last time we talked about what it was, mental health, and it's like capitalization off it, like people like make money off it. Today we're going to talk about, like, in light of recent events, etc., political complacency and desensitization. Ooh. Before I even start, you guys see anything cool, like, online or anything, like, anything? It's up to you guys. Like, you guys see anything recently?
Yeah, I saw the new beat you posted.
The new beat I posted? Crazy, right? I'm
Insane.
literally top 1 producer ever.
Exactly.
Literally.
I mean, on Instagram, I've been seeing a lot of posts about the Ukrainian-Russian crisis.
Oh yeah,
That's my whole Instagram page.
literally.
It's-
Yeah, I see a lot of that. A lot of like montages, which I kind of find insane to be like. They're making aesthetic montages of
on a crisis,
on a
war.
crisis. Yeah, it's kind of it's kind of
Insensitive.
funky, you know. Like I don't know how I feel about that. However, that's actually directly related to what we're talking about today, right? So, I guess we can start off with the whole Ukrainian situation. So, why don't we start with establishing some context for those who don't know? We can go pretty far back. We can go 20 years ago, far back, as everybody knows, or who those don't know. Soviet Union fell apart in early 90s, right? And
That was 30 years ago at this point.
30 years at this point, exactly. What is it, 91? Yeah, 91, they fell apart. 1990, yeah, 1991, I think. Let me check.
I don't know, I think it was, yeah, it's 91.
Soviet Union collapse. It was 1991, yeah. So
Almost like 92.
yeah, nearly 1992. Yeah, I think actually it's like right on the edge, like it's at the end of 1991. Regardless, one of the biggest like remaining like beliefs, at least in like more nationalist Russian belief, for those who don't know, is that a lot of people believe, or not a lot of people, but a certain nationalistic portion of the country believes that a lot of these countries are like subdivisions of Russia or of the Soviet Union and are inherently belonging to the old Soviet Union. Vladimir Putin has evidently said, like explicitly stated these things, that he believes that like many of these countries are like there's lots of evidence of this. There's at a UN conference in 2007 where he spoke about how the collapse of the Soviet Union was like a massive geopolitical disaster, and then proceeded to kind of insinuate that like all the countries that were part of the Soviet Union are kind of still part of that whole like Russian forced brotherhood. Anyways, how did this come to be, right?
Can I interject there for a second?
Go ahead.
I just want to put a little idea of how the population felt at the time. For example, like in the bigger cities, like most of my family was in St. Petersburg at the time,
Right.
Cool.
and the due to like the insane inflation,
Right.
they had about I don't know exactly the specifics, but they had around like 500 rubles or something like that
Yeah.
in their bank account.
Mm.
And at the time, it was enough to buy a car. And then as soon as the collapse happened,
Yep.
that was only about enough to purchase a cucumber.
Oh
Yeah.
my god.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was like a 1,000% inflation rate.
And so like everyone was like extremely vulnerable at that time. So it was like a petri dish for anyone to step
Exactly.
up as a leader.
Oh, I know. Like same thing here. My dad. So what happened with my dad is he managed to get out of the country prior to the dissolution, but he came back. So he was like in Canada or in the U.S. Like in the 80s, and then he came back to complete like his education, and he actually was like working in Russia while the coup happened. Like he was a banker at one point, and he was he was working for like the National Bank in Moscow, and there was like tanks rolling down the street and just fully shooting shells into the government buildings and stuff. Like a very like eye-opening thing is cool how like that inflation then afterwards affected like everybody. Like it, like you said, right, it's like a petri dish for beliefs because everybody's poor, people don't know what to do, and like people will radicalize and believe into like nationalistic things, right?
Yeah, they're very dependent at that point.
Exactly, right? And then that's where Putin comes in, right? Who basically single-handedly pulled that country together. So he has a very strong like control over what a lot of people believe, and even though there is evidence of him like the whole like false democracy that is entailed, like where he fully has like 3 different parties voting for him, etc. There is still a large portion of people in Russia who will still follow him simply through what he did for the country at the start, right? However, now, right? He's been in power for I think long enough, and I think a majority of people who live and suffer from that will agree with this. Generally, though, I think if we even start with the context of this situation, we should start with the keystone, which is NATO, right? Mainly, after the 2014 conflict with Crimea, from what I understand, well, from what everybody understands, Ukraine hates Russia generally, or like specifically the government hates Russia, and because of this, what instigated this conflict was that Ukraine started considering what they start considering. They started considering joining NATO, possibly, right? Afterward, oh sorry,
I understand the idea to join NATO actually occurred before that conflict.
exactly, yeah, it came before.
So that's what prompted Putin to
Yeah,
like look at it as like a threat towards
exactly.
Russia. And
Yeah,
so,
it's a political. But that's the thing is like NATO, like the whole thing of Ukraine possibly joining NATO works as an excuse for both for both countries, in my opinion, from what I understood. For the U.S., because everybody knows this, the U.S.'s largest goal is to rally countries with it and against Russia, right? Or to make profits off this, right? We've seen this with Afghanistan, we've seen this with Vietnam, the Cold War. It's been going on forever. NATO's an example of that. So basically, for the U.S., their biggest hope in having Ukraine join NATO is to instigate Russia, right? Like to move up its NATO's borders closer to Russia will naturally instigate the country, and that will just allow them to further their sanctions and do more and more. It works for them. It also they profit off the war, right? Their largest industry in the U.S. is the war. Their military is massive. Then you look at the Russian side, right? For them, it's also quite similar, where the pretext is that Putin is fighting for national security, right? If you move NATO up like closer to Russia, then naturally he's going to be like, well, don't do that. We don't want to share borders with our enemies, right? And because of that, that's his political reasoning for attacking Ukraine. However, this is preemptive. Ukraine has not officially joined NATO. They just clearly stated that, and it's a possible threat. However, what a lot of people believe and can see that motivation that I kind of started this conversation with is that Putin wants, what's his name? He wants Ukraine, right? He wants the old USSR republic. He wants to have it, and now that he's invaded, right? I don't see how this can turn out good for the people of Russia or Ukraine in any fashion. Like, does anybody see any good ending to this? No. I don't, right?
I don't.
Right, like.
Not at all.
I would also like to point out that what's it called, NATO has been, like, ever since the 2014 conflict, NATO has been slowly increasing its force size.
It has. That's
like
true.
Around, like, pretty much as close as they can get. And like, for example, Canada they've got like Operation Reassurance, and like they're very open with it and what they're doing. It's like very like they market it as like a reassurance mission.
Yeah.
But again, up until actually 2 days ago, I strongly believe that all of the like militarization of like both superpowers is only to give themselves leverage in like
Literally.
global talks. Like
Yep.
that's what I was like. There's no way there's gonna be like anything significant done with that until yesterday. Like I was like, like even right now I'm like kind of shocked because I developed like a pretty like big idea that most of this is purely like for like
pretext.
diplomatic uses.
Yeah,
like
exactly.
nothing more.
I thought the same thing. Like the fact that they're like I didn't think like they were gonna actually attack Ukraine, because it's a politically stupid move in my opinion. Like he could have easily withstood the urge to attack Ukraine.
I wouldn't take it that far right now, because I have a feel like I'd like to see what happens in the end.
That's true. We can see.
Because like there might be stuff that like
that's true.
difficult to tell.
Now we can start talking about how now NATO is clearly stating that they're not gonna Ukraine is not joining them, right? Like that's a key point, that now Ukraine was almost used as bait, if you think about it, right? Like the whole pretext that they're going to be part of NATO is now rendered useless, or like at least theoretically. So the kind of assault on Ukraine is now being able, like now the US has the ability to say, well, look, they're attacking Ukraine. NATO is not part of Ukraine, hence, as what is it, like breaking of international law? We're gonna start sanctions, right? Did I understand that correctly? Is that
that's like the publicized version of everything, and
right?
A very also like a very big argument right now that's going around is saying how Ukraine shouldn't have been a part of this in the first place, and a lot of people are saying how globally people or countries could have taken steps in order to what is the word again?
Like de-escalate.
Not de-escalate, but neutralize Ukraine,
right?
And just completely keep it away from like a conflict between both. Like many people are saying like the initial act of wanting Ukraine to join NATO is what started all this.
Yeah, it's an instigation, right? Like almost. But yeah, well, as always, I kind of feel bad for Ukraine. Like they're a pretty poor economically country. Like it's almost like I personally believe, or it would make sense that them joining NATO was purely pressure from the United States. Like the fact that they were probably offered some financial, or like due to their economy currently, probably offered like benefits, right? You join NATO, you are suddenly like allied with some of the strongest forces, you have like ability to better your trade, right, etc., etc. Like it's clear that like the whole thing is like it's useful for the US and for Russia to just brawl out their differences, and I feel like this is a repetition of like every single conflict between them, because this is once again a proxy conflict, right? We have them like duking it out like on somebody else's like this like misfortune, right? It's happened in Afghanistan. Where else did this happen? The whole Middle East is just basically, what is it? Iran and Syria are on Russia's side. Afghanistan, Iraq are on the US's side. There's evidence of this. The CIA has published documents of this, of how they fully infused money into militant groups in the Middle East. It's fabricated, and then once the countries are destabilized, they put their own ruler in, and then what do? Oh, let's go sell oil to the US, right? Like this is the most common trope. Anyways, point is, this is just a repetition once again, and the only people that are
they just saw profit in there, and there
exactly.
You go. That's what happens.
And for example, what I was just giving was an example of the US's imperialism, right? Like it's the US mainly that profited of Russia leaving Afghanistan, right? Because they let Saudi Arabia then raise oil prices in Russia, and then now Saudi Arabia sells oil to the West. But the same thing could happen with Russia, right? Like what if Russia wins this conflict, which probably will, they could establish a a Russian leader in Ukraine, right? That would be beneficial to Russia. Another example of Russian imperialism. So I'm not going to defend one country or the other at all. Currently, I'm condemning Russia because regardless of how you look at it, military action is still going to kill civilians. So, and anyway, I'm unhappy.
I'm sure they've killed a few already, right? Do you know
Oh.
the
Yeah.
casualty count yet?
They've already done so.
Yeah, it was last time. Yeah, I checked a few hours ago. It was 360 something for like I don't know if these are civilians. Namely, I'm not going to make any assumptions. I know that Russia has explicitly stated that they're attacking military bases and air bases.
Yeah, there are definitely civilian casualties.
But there are definitely civilian casualties.
Yeah,
Every
'cause
time. Go ahead.
they launched missiles,
Yeah,
right?
yeah. There are videos and evidence of this.
Yeah.
The ballistic missiles and all that was like meant as like extremely accurate munitions for like military installations.
Yeah.
But so far I've seen a lot of like some of the bigger stuff, like especially last night, the explosion in Kiev was caused by like an interception, and so it fell on
Oh, I see what
Kiev
you're
because
saying.
of that. I still don't like. It's still like many people are saying that it's like, and these are like news sources. This isn't like social media. Like half of them are saying it's a plane, half of them are saying it's a missile.
I see.
So, I don't-
Yeah. But to be fair, Russia's also using quite like they're not going full on out. Like if you think about it, like if what I'm
Yeah,
from what I'm
definitely
seeing is they're using minimal force and seeing if they can take Ukraine, and then if that doesn't work, then they're going to go full on out. And when that happens, I think we all know how that's gonna end. Like Ukraine does not stand a chance. I'm sorry, like
Definitely.
it's not even close. But yeah. So political
biggest thing is the like to this day, like how should I, like urban warfare, like it's clear that they're trying to attempt to like retake Ukraine without causing significant damage,
Yeah.
in order to still have like a stable government that they could just like take over
Right. They're not gonna like
and
they're
not have to
avoiding
spend money rebuilding it. Yeah.
they're avoiding the carpet bombing method is like
Yeah.
which is like the US's favorite thing in Iraq, but that's a whole nother discussion.
Urban warfare is like very difficult, and that's pretty much what it's looking like right now.
Yeah. But yeah, so when this comes to political complacency, right, that's a different story, right? So we talked about how well, first of all, we should probably define the term political complacency for those of us who are listening. What we entail by political complacency is that like either this is within the country or externally, that a higher power is not like acting on
Doing what they can.
exactly on an issue, right? The word complacency means to give up, right? So one of the biggest thing I would infer from what we just established with the context in complacency would be, for example, other countries like retraction of like the whole NATO statement. That would be an example where for the sake of like having Russia for the sake of removing Russia's legal position on attacking Ukraine, they are essentially allowing Ukraine to be attacked because, right, if they're removing the NATO status from Ukraine, then they no longer have to defend it, right? They're removing responsibility. So after after Russia told all the small European countries like don't step in, like Estonia, we're looking at you, you're not going to do anything. After that.
Estonia?
Or like Estonia, like all the NATO, all the small like NATO European countries that, to be realistic, wouldn't have done anything in the first place. But
Yeah, I think they're scared of a world war
yeah, literally,
if they intervene.
yeah, right, because those are NATO. Like if Russia attacks them, then we have to start with a war. So,
Everyone.
right, that would be an example of complacency. Complacency can be inside of the government, for example, maybe like this happens a lot in Eastern Europe, like corruption. So for example, like the way money trickles down in Russia and in Eastern European countries is entirely different. Like you should see why infrastructure is so bad there. It's because it just gets grabbed by managers, and that's a different topic. The whole point is that complacency can be apparent in both external and internal factors, right? And it's not only in Ukraine. We wanted to talk about today as well. What else? What are we going to talk about? What do we want to talk about? Uyghur, Afghanistan, Iran. What do you guys think?
We could talk about You're on, because it's kind of related to the book we just read in English class.
Oh yeah.
Syphilis.
You guys want to start us off with that?
Sam, do you want to?
I don't really.
Okay, I guess I can talk about it.
Right.
So there was this one particular part of the book where the main character Marjan.
Oh wait, I think we
Was
should
talking.
specify the book is Persepolis.
Yeah.
Did we not say it was Persepolis?
No, I just
No.
said we read a book about it.
The book is Persepolis. It's a graphic novel.
It's
Partially autobiographic.
Marjane Satrapi, I think.
Yeah, Marjan Satrapi.
Marjan.
Yeah. Oh, I think it's Marjan. I don't know. I just saw the E. Sorry.
Get it right. Oh my god.
So sorry. I'm sorry.
Anyways, continue.
Well, yeah, there was this one chapter in particular where Marjan was talking with her, I think it was just her mom, and they were they were discussing how the Islamic regime was very effective in that, like, they were able to cut off all of the antennas and stuff, and that they should listen to the West. But then another person brought up how the West depicts the East as fanatics and terrorists. So they both have their flaws and they both have their pros, right? But then Marjan went a step further by discussing how this type of viewpoint or this perspective was not really common for the majority of people, and so it left most people uneducated and blind to what the rest of the world saw. It basically shows how, like, the Islamic regime was very effective in creating political complacency, like through bloodshed or through letting any people who oppose their ideologies flee from the country.
Yeah, that's a great point. Yeah, I agree. And I mean, like, a lot of the book was.
You agree?
I do agree. Man, you're spitting right now. You're going crazy.
Yeah.
Literally insane. Yeah, a lot of her book was like about complacency, right? Like how, like, when she went to, like, Europe. I don't know if you mentioned this. When she went to Europe, like, how this is less political complacency and more individual complacency, like how, right? How she fully, like, she like felt, or like she felt guilt when she started to no, she felt guilt like when she was, like, involved with her country, like she wasn't suffering with her country. Like, that was a form of complacency, which, if you think about it, was probably caused by, like, a political factor, right? Like, they were indoctrinated to believe that, like, you are bound nationally to your country, like the Islamic State, and you are interchangeable. If you think about it, right? Like, you could then technically say it's a form of, like, complacency from politics. Like, her own beliefs about, like, nationalism stem from the fact that, like, the country's basically, like, feeding her, like, propaganda always. Even though she knows to be a free thinker, she still feels attached to her country. So,
Yeah.
But yeah, something like that. So we talked a lot about complacency. We can also talk about how, like, this whole, like, situation relates to, like, the IB program in general. Well, first of all, the book we just read was in the IB program, and we're probably going to be doing a lot of analysis on, like, the like, historical context of the book and the like the meaning. We've done a little bit of it. So for those who are in the IB program in, like, GW Williams, you probably will see this come up later. I don't know if they keep the same text every year, but they will probably discuss some form of political complacency. If you remember, political complacency was a big theme in The Handmaid's Tale as well.
Yeah.
So, and I know they love The Handmaid's Tale, so you might get that as well.
I think.
Yep.
Yeah.
No, go ahead.
I think the IB does a good, like, it does justice towards, like, making sure that, like, its students are educated, at least at our school, about, like, social justice issues, or at least
a global perspective.
Yeah, a global perspective, making sure that they're, like, that we're not politically complacent, because they do give us texts like The Handmaid's Tale or Persepolis. I'm pretty sure, like, any image you get for your French IA, it's probably gonna be about, like, a social justice issue or, like, some
there's
sort
always
of political issue. Yeah.
There's always at least one political issue that you can talk on.
Yeah, and so I think that it's good that the IB is doing this, and it's, like, exposing us to these issues that we're learning not to be complacent about. When I see that, like, when I'm outside of my friends with IB, or outside of IB with my friends,
Yeah.
like I see that they're like not very caring, or like they're pretty, I would say, complacent with the politics of things.
Well, I agree with you there. Yeah, like I know some of my friends are pretty well educated in that, but I can like I can tell that the school like IB does well in like distinguishing itself and like saying like, well, we want to really focus on this issue. Like what am I talking about? Our IAs, literally our English IAs are about a global issue. What am I talking about? Like it's
Yeah.
they do a good job in that. And like that's seen in like the learner profile, right? Like they were talking, what was it saying?
Yeah.
Knowledgeable and reflective. Right, I remember now. So knowledgeable and reflective are like elements of like that you should be as an IB student. Obviously this like the learner profile is heavily glorified and we don't use it as often as we'd like, but it's still like kind of like a fundamental thing that
You do that because
yeah
you learn those traits
yeah
like through experience and by doing things that the fact of them not just like looking at that PDF and saying, oh, you should do that. There you go. Like, okay, what am I basing this off? Why should I do it? That's why I think like it's better just to incorporate it into the learning instead of just have that as a thing. Like that, I think that's the only like distinction that I don't see being made with IB. But
in business, sorry.
No, go ahead.
In business class, we spend like a lot of time just looking at the global news in general.
Oh,
yeah, that's good. Yeah.
Yeah, our teachers focus a lot on what's the word?
Yeah, and that kind of, I guess,
yeah.
kind of leads me to like want to talk about performative activism.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Like in business, like I think our teacher, she does a good job of like making sure that we're globally minded through learning about news and like making us aware of all these different issues and how they relate to the curriculum. But in other courses, like world languages, it's sometimes forced into the rubric to talk about IB themes, to talk about certain cultures, and
Yeah,
yeah,
that's
you
a
guys
big
get what I
issue
mean.
I see as well. Yeah.
Which I definitely understand that you need to like tie it back to the language that you're speaking, but like a lot of the times it's
It's
like they're
limiting on
nudging you in a
what
certain way.
like real connections you could do.
Yeah.
Like
I
no
see.
one, when you're looking at a picture and you're like appreciating it, and no matter what like language you're speaking, you don't just go out of your way to make that connection. Oh, like French people do this.
It's
Spanish people do
it's
that.
awkward most of the time.
Oh,
Yeah. I agree. Right? Yeah. Yeah.
Well, yeah.
Yeah, you're right. You I agree.
Valid
Yeah.
facts.
Yeah, but this kind of like we fully comes full circle, right? Like we are like as like the whole performative activism was started the podcast episode and like yeah, so
And I guess,
oh go ahead. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like we're gonna see a lot of it. That's what I'm saying.
yeah, I guess a good message for this specific episode would be like to make sure you find that balance between political complacency and just like not caring about it versus like caring about it but in the wrong areas.
Sense. Yeah.
Yeah, because you don't want to be like ignorant of like every issue that's going on, but you also don't want to be like doing things just to do things.
Yeah, exactly. And going off that, right, doing things for just doing things, like that is a form of complacency. Like complacency
Yeah.
is like it's a broad term, but you can like put like what you can put comfort under complacency. Like for example, the reason why people put right like why people put what is it called, like the Instagram like posts with like the pastel colors, and they're talking about like people with suicidal ideation, like like you're not achieving anything.
What you think you are.
Is ideation a word? I've never heard.
Yeah, it is a word. It is
It's
a
like
word.
it's like thinking about killing yourself. But
No. I know what
Yeah.
ideation ideals are. I just never heard it. Like
Yeah,
No,
ide-
it is
that
suicide
form.
ideation.
yeah, so like
Interesting.
yeah, it's like what I'm saying is that like it's whereas you might see like the merit of like spreading information, the like the benefits you like achieve are so like small. Like people who like maybe you'll reach 1 million people with this one viral infographic, let's say, right? People
Yeah.
are reposting your infographic not because they care. Like that's one
But
of
that's not the biggest issue with it.
What do you think is the biggest issue?
The biggest issue is that most of them are just spreading false information, and a lot of them are. A lot of people
surface
think.
level.
A lot of people think.
Yeah.
Yeah, very surface level. And a lot of people think that that's like a substitute for actual
yeah.
Actual help.
research.
Good
which-
point. Yeah.
Not even help, like actual research.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of them are
Completely-
a lot of them are
It's-
surface level, right? Like
Yeah, you
with
can't fit like years of like historical like
context.
problems into one post, like one infographic.
Yeah, that's also
just
like
you
my
can't.
biggest issue with like TikTok and like very quick information like that is a lot of people like it's already been happening with TV ever since that started, where people would watch like a TV show, say like a cooking show, and like come out of it thinking like, oh, I'm so smart, like
I
I
know how to
understand.
cook, yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's like a very basic example. And then like right now it's even worse when you have like 10 second videos of like people trying to explain a concept and people like, oh,
I
I'm just
understand
gonna
it
trust
now.
this opinion. And it's like people get lazy and don't want to
Right.
go and look at the thing. And relating it to IB does a pretty good job in teaching you how to,
Make sure
you know,
what you're
make
doing.
yeah,
Yeah.
look at information.
Oh, yeah, we talked about that in, like, what is it, episode 1? We talked about
Yeah.
like cross-referencing your sources, yada
Yeah,
yada.
that's what I
Right.
feel is the biggest issue with the performative activism nowadays. I'm not sure of how it looked like before social media. There's probably completely different.
I think it's a good like intro to a topic, but I don't think you
That's
can
fair.
like substitute it for research. You know.
But yeah, I'd say like, to be fair, like if we're gonna be honest, the whole point of like TikTok and Instagram is that it's easy consumption,
Easy access.
right?
Yeah.
Like it's like you're kind of like synthesizing both like your pleasure and your knowledge. Like once you start
They're
like
creating their own credibility by making it look nice.
exactly, that's what I'm saying.
But
Like the
that's
whole fast
not how-
stealth thing,
Yeah.
right?
They
Like
never
you're
put sources though.
yeah, like even if you have like good information, people are like combining it with like casualness. Like they're combining it with like complacency, right? Like the fact that it's
Yeah.
easy to access.
Desensitizing it.
It desensitizes it. It makes it easy. You have like this very surface level understanding, and then it makes you feel powerful because you think you know things without actually
Yeah.
having a true knowledge. And it makes you like comfortable with yourself. You don't have to then push yourself to go and find out more because I read this infographic, and then if you think about it, right? Why does this happen? Because profit. Everything in the Western world runs on profit. I'm sure.
Okay,
No,
business major.
no. Yeah, I'm just saying. Like, think about it. You know, like those like mental health like slideshows. They're usually by like those like verified accounts, right? Like,
Yeah.
I'm sure I go on Instagram right now. I know one of them is
Yeah,
just
that's
girls,
what performative activism is,
Yeah.
for your own personal benefit and
I-
like
exactly.
creating an image for yourself.
right? I know there's an account called like I think it's like just girls, and it's like
Oh yeah.
yeah,
Oh my God,
girls,
yeah.
or like I think there's one like that's mental health, right? This official account for mental health that is 100% run by some corporation or by some individual, and you think he's not getting advertisement money because 30 million people just saw his like slideshow that he made in PowerPoint?
Imagine the kind of money people are making off the names. That it's
Literally, it's just buzzwords. Like, anyways, we're kind of going on a tangent here, but it still ties in back to complacency. Once you substitute proper information consumption with like just pleasurable or easy information, it's a form of complacency. You're not actually doing what you can, and it's performative, and you're just doing this for your own surface level. You make you're learning not for the sake of actually helping, but for the sake of feeling good about it.
Yeah,
So-
they've developed a method to be able to put words in people's mouths and make them think that they are knowledgeable because of it.
Yeah.
Thus, they're creating a better image for themselves. That's
Yeah.
the gist of it.
And then, so like it would be kind of mean for us to say all this to people who are trying to actually help, right? Who are, like just have a bad understanding of like, okay, well maybe
Why would it be, okay, I see what you mean by
Yeah.
mean, but I don't like that. It's just the truth. Like
that's true.
just how it is.
Why I'm saying this is because I want to follow it up with what you actually can do to help, like a feasible option that isn't going to be performative. We talked a little bit about this last time. Donations. Like, I know people are like, well, I don't have money. I don't have that. I refuse to believe that if you can afford a new pair of Air Force Ones, you can't afford to give $5 to like the Red Cross.
Okay,
Something like
but
that.
the thing about that, I'm always wary of donations.
That's true.
Yeah, for
I'm
I
saying.
just don't trust the majority of them.
I see. I mean specifically something that's like the Red Cross I believe in, but there are times when I say specifically where you can where the company is transparent about its
Yep.
finances,
Where it's
and
going, yeah.
I know a
Like
good
in
one.
times like this, like
Oh,
there are
yeah.
specific
Yeah.
like donations that just happen to pop up that go to
Yeah.
that specific thing. Instead, whatever I recommend doing is just going to like known
Yeah.
like organizations that respond to these kinds of like humanitarian
100%.
issues.
100%.
So like don't even like go for anything that even says like anything specific,
Yeah.
because most of the time like it's just untrustworthy.
You know what? This just brought me to another idea of complacency. How like you said, people aren't willing to like donate and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And people are like, oh, but I don't know what like place to donate to. Then like if you genuinely truly cared about this,
Yeah, you'd find out.
what's stopping you?
Yeah. I remember this one thing I saw during the whole Black Lives Matter thing. Like people were like doing things like I don't have money to donate, and then they're like, watch this YouTube video, and like that way you're supporting the black community because you're giving ad revenue to this one person who's going to distribute that money. Like to me that seems like the epitome of
Here's another
laziness.
thing.
You're not
Here's another thing for me.
Yeah.
I think it's very difficult to figure out a good way to donate on issues of that kind of like very social issues, nothing tangible.
No, you're right, because that actually was a problem. I don't know if you remember the whole Black Lives Matter. The organization itself was a scam. The guy ran off with the money.
I can tell you this much: I have like I stay away from any like donating to any social issues.
Yeah. So
like it just doesn't
Yeah.
like it just physically doesn't click on how you can like correlate like monetary value into fixing a social issue.
No.
That all of that is usually done on the government level.
Yeah, that goes straight to what's the name? Like so, right? Donate to reputable institutions. So like not change.org. Come on. Like don't donate to change.org so that they can pay their engineers to make more petitions that don't do anything. Please.
And donate to like genuine projects that you understand, not just like things like, oh,
They're
I know
trending.
this is going to this place, so I'm gonna donate here. Like, you should be able to understand where your money is going and what it's doing.
Yeah.
And it's always like way more productive to just volunteer, do your own small project.
Right. You can do. You can volunteer for organizations that are involved with relief, for example. I know the Red Cross has, even if you're not directly aiding the project, you are aiding the corporation that is a nonprofit that is indirectly aiding that issue. For example, the Red Cross would be a good place. You can, I know you can volunteer there. You can also volunteer in certain UN projects. Before we even end the episode, I was actually going to remind that there's a few places I know you can donate that are 100% guaranteed, safe, good places. One of these is the UNWRA, which is United Nations, like it's like a World Relief Association. They were in the whole Palestine conflict, completely removed from politics. Okay, so like it's one of the things I like about them. I've looked at their records, and they're very transparent about everything. It's an extension of the UN. The whole point is that
all non-for-profits have to be transparent. Yeah.
Exactly, and
at least in Canada, I'm not sure about the United States.
No,
my mom worked in non-profit, and
yeah,
like she was like an accountant there, and she was always like talking about how everything has to be publicized.
Yeah, so like if anybody's looking for a good place to donate, go to like a big organization, Red Cross, UNWRA. Look at the sources. Figure it out for yourself. If you think the issue is important, don't post a infographic. Donate like $1, $5. It doesn't matter. You can donate 50 cents, but you'll achieve more than with your infographic. You're not gonna stop like world like injustice by posting your pastel slideshow. So yeah, that was basically the whole idea behind this podcast, that literally a lot of like performative political action, personal action, internal and external complacency is forms of political complacency or desensitization. So basically all we're saying is that by discussing context of the Ukrainian situation, by then talking about Iran, and maybe to the IB students who are listening, the IB elements of the podcast, that people will understand better how complacency works and avoid it. If you truly care about something, there is definitely ways for you to help. And with that, that's really what we wanted to talk about today. Is
Yeah.
anybody want to add anything else?
No.
We're balling. We're chilling.
Ballin'.
Okay. Oh, with that then. Oh yeah, go ahead, Sean.
I guess just one more thing to complain about. You know those people who are like, oh, like Jeff Bezos, he only donated like this amount. That's equivalent to like donating 56 cents if you were an average person.
That's
Then
still
you
a lot of
donate-
money.
You donate, bro. You go do
Yeah,
something.
because I don't know anybody, like the average person does not donate at all. So like,
Yeah.
just tell me how you're doing anything better.
Yeah, a lot of people don't even understand like how liquidity works in stocks. How like your net worth isn't how much money you have. Like that's
Okay, that's major.
yeah. Like a lot of people like can easily debunk like the most easy like wealth distribution theory by just saying, yeah, you know, he doesn't actually have that money, and people are like, just sell the stock. I'm like,
Yeah, they're in.
yeah, but wealth distribution is a whole other thing. There's like lots of pros and cons. I'm not even gonna delve into that because that's gonna be another 40 minutes.
It's just like an intro or a preview to our next episode.
Yeah, maybe we'll talk about that next time. Anyways, thank you everybody for watching. We'll catch you all
See you
next time.
later.
Bye.
Bye.